Brilliance Audio presents On Cold Ground by D.S. Butler. Performed by Henrietta Mear. They had no idea he was watching. He'd been trailing them for 3 hours, and they still didn't have a clue. He'd watched them eat dinner, then spent what felt like hours at the Lincoln Christmas market, following them as they perused the stalls, admiring the lights and decorations. But finally, they'd had enough of the fake, gaudy celebrations, and were heading away from the castle. The couple kept gazing at each other in a lovey-dovey way, nauseating. That was why they hadn't noticed him. They only had eyes for each other. He smirked, very careless. Leaning against the black railings in front of the judge's lodgings, he watched people stream past him. The temporary market in and around the grounds of Lincoln Castle drew large crowds, this year more than most, after the event had been cancelled last year. From his vantage point, it looked as though the historic building were hunched over, embarrassed by the meaningless festivities. People here had no respect for the past. Earlier, he'd watched in disgust as an elderly man walked past the entrance to the dungeons, wearing a Father Christmas hat and a scarf with flashing blue lights, slurping from a cup of mulled wine and munching on a gingerbread biscuit. So much for the true meaning of Christmas. He didn't understand the appeal. It was noisy. There were too many people in the area, and it was freezing. He cupped his hands and held them against his mouth, his breath hot against his numb fingers. He wasn't exactly dressed for a stroll around the Christmas market. His dark jacket had proved too lightweight once the temperature began to steadily drop as the afternoon headed into the evening. The baseball cap he wore helped to shield his face from the many CCTV cameras, but did little to keep him warm. Irritated, he looked at his watch. Things were not going to plan. He'd played his part to perfection, but hadn't counted on this development. He felt a sharp pain behind his eyes and took a deep breath of icy air. He needed to relax. It would all work out. Events had just unfolded differently than expected, that was all. He'd done everything right. No one could accuse him of not achieving his objective. Earlier he'd been ready to go home, but his hands had been shaking so violently he'd needed something to calm his nerves. He'd gone to the nearest pub and ordered a whiskey to take the edge off. The warm, soothing effect of the alcohol had just started to kick in when the couple walked into the pub. What were the chances? Were they on to him? Did they know? Now, after traipsing around behind them for 3 long hours, he was sure they didn't. Well, almost sure. It had been a coincidence they'd walked into the same pub. But he didn't like coincidences. They made him nervous. Of course, he knew who she was straight away. The problem, as his boss referred to her. He grinned. When his boss was feeling less polite, it was the thorn in my backside, and a few other choice words. He was still grinning when a tall, thin woman wearing a pair of fluffy pink earmuffs gave him a stern look as she walked by. "Weirdo," she muttered. He stared after her. He was the weirdo. He wasn't the one wearing pink earmuffs, was he? He grunted in disgust and turned back to his targets. They were passing the Magna Carta now, laughing together. She was quite easy on the eye, but he looked like a bloke you really wouldn't want to cross. Still, appearances could be deceptive. The information he had on her suggested she was the more dangerous one, the one he had to watch. He walked slowly after them. Despite the cold, it was nice to be outside doing something physical for a change. He glowered up at the dark sky as snow started to fall. He sniffed. The cold air was making his nose run. 2 children walked by, their plump faces smeared with sugary goo, holding toffee apples. That wasn't a Christmas thing, was it? But it didn't seem to matter. Whatever was on sale, the daft tourists lapped it up. He slowed as the couple stopped to gaze at each other, chatting away, smiling like they were the only 2 people in the world.